jewel of the West. Some even call it the most amazing city on Earth. Las Vegas, Nevada is known for all of these. From its birth in the 1930s, when gambling was legalized, the city has grown from a once sleepy dude ranch to the fantasy metropolis it is today. We will see the icons and attractions that are synonymous with Vegas today. Its glitzy casinos, the luxury hotels, and the Strip itself. We will reveal their origins, the fascinating visionaries behind the creations, and even explore some natural wonders surrounding Las Vegas. When were showgirls first introduced to the city? What was Las Vegas' first casino? How did gambling get a foothold after being illegal for nearly 2 decades? How have today's massive themed resorts grown into extremes in opulence? For the next hour, we will explore Las Vegas, past and present, and discover how a sleepy Western cantina in the middle of nowhere has become a destination for travelers from all corners of the globe. In less than 100 years, Las Vegas has grown from an unimportant and forgettable whistle stop on the Union Pacific Railway line to the most visited city in all America. Just last year, over 36 million visitors found their way to Las Vegas. Guests, both young and old, are lured by the possibility of striking it rich, unparalleled extravagance, as well as good old-fashioned family fun.
You got everything here. You got everything you ever would want to have here because this is the entertainment center of the entire world.
Just minutes away from the spinning roulette wheels and eye-popping architecture is an awesome world of natural and man-made wonders. Today's Las Vegas is synonymous with excitement. As local lore has it, if it exists anywhere on Earth, it can be found here in Vegas. Today, hotels, casinos, and newly built thrill rides populate this amazing city. But it wasn't always this way. Las Vegas is less than 200 years old. But if it weren't for the past 50 years or so, few of us would ever have heard of it. In 1829, a young scout named Rafael Rivera discovered an oasis in the Mojave Desert, which was named Las Vegas, Spanish for the Meadows. Travelers from the east would be able to pass through the merciless desert on the way to the California coastline. In 1844, a U.S. Army expedition mapped the territory. The expedition's leader, John Fremont, drew the maps and wrote the report that literally put Las Vegas on the map. Fremont's contributions are still remembered today. Downtown's most spectacular street, a veritable skyline of neon, still bears his name. 10 years after the Fremont expedition, 30 young men were sent by Brigham Young to establish a Mormon settlement in Las Vegas. Their mission was to build a fort there to protect immigrants and the recently established U.S. mail stop from the Indians. After a decade of harsh conditions, the Mormons failed to establish a viable settlement, abandoned their fort, and returned to Salt Lake City.
One thing to understand about early Las Vegas is that nobody wanted to stay here. Mojave Desert was a place to get through.
Access to water made Las Vegas the ideal refueling point and rest stop for the San Pedro, Los Angeles, and Salt Lake Railroad.
The railroad actually created the town on May 15th, 1905. There was an auction under a mesquite tree, and the town was literally inaugurated overnight as buildings started to go up along present-day Fremont Street.
Nearly 100 years after a thin coat of asphalt made it the first and transformed into a 4-block pedestrian walkway covered by a futuristic electric canopy. Today, crowds gather nightly along the casino-lined Thoroughfare Night Show. But today, the true star. From the introduction of world-class legendary headliners such as and Sammy Davis Jr. and Elvis Presley, to today's multi-million-dollar show-stopping extravaganzas, the Las Vegas entertainment scene is always evolving. The city has always been renowned for its after-dark excitement, be they top comedians, lounge acts, or those glamorous, long-legged showgirls. First, to the sleazy. On any given night, one can choose from about 66 different hotel stage shows and just as many lounge acts.
There's nowhere in the world where you see as many diverse acts, as many great acts. This is and always hopefully will be.
One can hardly name another put on a show in Vegas. In a town that is constantly reinventing itself, casinos and hotels occasionally fall out of favor. Different attractions will open and close, but showgirls always have been and always will be an integral part of the Las Vegas landscape, proving the age-old adage that scantily clothed women never go out of style.
Las Vegas, and before I was married, a very important part of my life personally. You'd see 30 gorgeous, scantily clad women stream over the world. It was wonderful. If I had my old phone book.
Endowed women brought in from Hollywood, creating the now Corona Hotel followed suit and imported the Folies Bergère. Susan Toby began her career
during the heyday, so to speak. Very, very glamorous. I think showgirls have become a part of the scene because they helped mold Las Vegas into what it is now. They were a part of it when Las Vegas was first getting going, and they're still a part of this.
Can be intense and demanding.
First, you have to be 5'7". You have to move gracefully on stage, do all the intricate dance steps in this really 50-pound dress and hat, and you have to have a pleasant appearance and a decent-looking body. I guess that's part of it.
Like many performers, Susan began her career in an unlikely manner.
Well, I'm from a little farm town in Ohio called Metamora with 500 people. I was like 20 years old, had never been west of the Mississippi, and I thought, oh my God, what am I missing? And I was working at Sears Roebuck, and I transferred out here and I was working in the collections department. There was a show opening up at the MGM when a friend of mine said, why don't you go audition for this show? You're 5'10", blah, blah, blah. And so I called in sick one day and I made it. And that's how I got in the business. It was uncanny. I don't know why I was chosen to this day, but that's how I got my start. Being a showgirl, it was the most fun, wonderful, exciting time of my life. And I still look back on these years and I'm just filled with such joy that I got to do this. Here I am, this farm girl from Ohio. I come to...
With Vegas showgirls gaining publicity and notoriety, Las Vegas soon earned a reputation for spicy entertainment, in addition to its mainstay of gambling and big-name entertainers.
And that's the whole modus operandi.
As Las Vegas continued to grow and prosper throughout the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the stakes to present the best entertainment were upped. In 1959...
Down in the colourful, where did you learn that? In the Flamingo? Yeah, I like to have a little snack. What is it? Sandwiches?
When Peter Lawford, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and Joey was always packed and filled with celebrity onlookers.
The Rat Pack was made up of super talented people and the best of the best. And individually, they could work getting together one night.
Entertainer who is most closely identified with Las Vegas, Elvis Presley wasn't his audience. There were few young girls in the room in those days, the mid-50s. Elvis remembered this comeback special led the still under construction International Hotel to sign the King of Rock and Roll to an exclusive long-term deal as the hotel's primary headliner. When Elvis Presley performed in Las Vegas, the revenues of hotels and casinos on the Strip were said to jump an average of 10%. No wonder everyone in Vegas loved to see Elvis come to town. His status as the biggest box office draw, and to this day, no other entertainer has come. Entertainment is the goal of every major hotel and casino. Certainly no show screams Vegas louder than Siegfried and Roy, who've been a main staple here. Extravagant costumes and a bevy of white lions and tigers, German-born Siegfried and Roy's elaborate circus act is like no other in Vegas or anywhere else on Earth. The Mirage Hotel also features...
Let me describe my show this way. If you don't like it, wait 5 minutes, because it's going to change.
Bald and blue is unpredictable, intelligent, and outrageous entertainment. Master magician Lance Burton is one of magic's hottest draws. Suspending disbelief is the ace up his sleeve.
Magic is real, and magic kind of cuts across all culture.
Las Vegas entertainment is the best that the world has to offer. I think that
According to Vegas lore, the Strip owes its inception to Tom Hull, an unlikely entrepreneur whose momentarily met tire just south of Las Vegas on Highway 91, and while waiting for a tow, by counting cars traveling along the barren desert road, and fantasizing about a swimming pool. By the time Mr. Hull's car was in working order and he was back on Strip's first hotel, the famed El Rancho. Mrs. Tom Hull gives us the real story.
Well, I've read a lot of things that are incorrect. But this is what Tom told me. He said that he put a man down on the corner in Las Vegas. He had the man stand there for a month and clock how many tourists came through here. And
Tom dreamed of unseen possibilities and bought the land.
Acre. And I don't know, goes about $100 an inch now.
There is no disputing that Tom Hull had remarkable vision and is the father of the Strip, more valuable to the explosion of modern-day Las Vegas, a successful marketing strategy.
The El Rancho became known all over.
As early as 1942, reservations were required well in advance of arrival, and the showroom had a 10-piece band and featured headline Joey Lewis. Tom Hull may have understood how, after all, Nevada had a huge advantage over all the other illegal.
Tom Hull did not know a thing about the gambling business.
Tom, being a shrewd business knowledgeable. It didn't take long for Hull thing was more profitable than holding a gambling license. Within a few years, Tom Hull's vision on a lonely stretch of road had grown into the most famous gambling.
People start thinking about coming in here.
Even the infamous Benjamin Siegel, who hated his nickname, Bugsy, called the El Rancho home during the construction of his. But the impact of theme resorts, which he pioneered, is still evident in Las Vegas today. When the El Rancho introduced its Western theme, the lure was irresistible, and touring was learned early on, and today Vegas sets itself apart from other cities and gambling houses around the world by offering tourists an ever wider array of themed resorts. A kaleidoscope of images from various periods of human history overwhelms visitors traveling along the Strip today.
People come here to see the Bellagio.
Amazing.
They come here, to see the pirate ship, at Treasure Island sink outside.
Pass this on to His Royal Highness.
They come here to see the volcano at the Mirage.
You have to see it to believe it.
World.
Las Vegas is a one-of-a-kind global destination with unique and sometimes humorous architectural palaces. Still, it traveled. In 1955, the Arabian breed of high roller, this new resort was destined to become a Las Vegas legend. Standing at the southernmost developed point of the Strip, the Dunes was a frequent stomping ground of the most legendary Hollywood performers. But after the glitz and the implosion was used in the movie Resort, one that sold sophistication. The name Bellagio is Italian for elegant relaxation, which is the theme of this 36-story resort, arguably the most opulent. In front of the hotel, an 8.5-acre lake gives rise to a beautiful aquatic ballet. Lighthouse. Thousands of fountains send water soaring 240 feet into the air, making them an imposing and impressive visual. Inside the Bellagio, a new touch is the creation. At the helm of this blossoming world of plant culture at Bellagio's world-famous conservatory.
We had this room designed by a scenic company that does theater productions, concerts.
Is required to care for the awesome variety of plant life found here in the Bellagio.
This conservatory, at any given time.
Bellagio's conservatory is more than a garden. It's a full-scale production that changes with the seasons.
Our major shows are divided into seasons. We start with fall every year. That is a major harvest theme. As soon as Thanksgiving's over, we go into Christmas. And then as soon as that's over, and we switch to spring, and we go through summer. The most thrilling part of working in a place like this is to walk in a room like this in the middle of this harsh desert and say, wow, how did all this happen?
As out of place as dancing fountains and fragrant flowers may seem in the desert, Bellagio has yet another unlikely attraction. Once, the city was known best for its neon art, but today, the Bellagio has turned the cultural tide of Las Vegas by bringing world-class art to the Strip and making it easily accessible to visitors from around the globe.
When people first thought about the idea of fine art in Las Vegas, they probably pictured the dogs playing poker. The current exhibition that we're showing at the Bellagio Gallery is the private collection of Steve Martin. And Steve Martin, of course, is the world-famous comedian, actor, playwright, author. Steve Martin has actually been collecting art for over 30 years. It's a very diverse collection, and I think when people come to see the gallery, they'll have a little insight, perhaps, into the personality and the private life of Steve Martin. Las Vegas is not only showgirls and swimming pools and casinos. We're trying to offer a new opportunity for visitors who are interested in a cultural experience.
The events that best represent the rapid growth and expansion of Las Vegas over the last half-century are the spectacles of casino implosions. However, one hotel was reluctant to give way to the winds of change. Prior to its scheduled demise, the Hacienda Hotel was the first Las Vegas casino that catered to families. Another pioneering move of the Hacienda was the creation of Hacienda Airlines, which grew to a fleet of 30 planes, complete with showgirls, that would fly gamblers into Vegas from all over the country. In spite of its many innovations, the Hacienda could not compete with modern-day resorts, and amid great fanfare on New Year's Eve 1996, the aging Hacienda Hotel and Casino was scheduled to be blown up to make way for Mandalay Bay. But when the dust settled, a large portion of the hotel stood triumphant against the attempt to flatten it. Demolition crews worked all night, determined to bring down the building with ropes and a crane. But the next morning, the hacienda still stood. After several hours of battering, even a large steel wrecking ball proved unsuccessful. Finally, after 17 hours, the 40-year-old hacienda hotel came down under the relentless pounding, but not without gaining new status as the hotel that refused to die. Like its predecessor, Mandalay Bay created its own lore by bringing the oceans of the world to the Mojave Desert. The aquatic theme of this resort is best represented by Shark Reef, one of the Strip's newest shows. An assortment of dangerous predators and unusual aquatic creatures are the focus of this attraction. Jack Jewell is the general curator at Mandalay Bay's Shark Reef.
The idea behind the creation of this exhibit is to create an actual immersion into the aquatic environment. We've been able to create a total experience where people are in a whole different place.
As one can imagine, a project of this scope is no easy task.
The logistics alone of bringing a completely ocean environment to the middle of the desert are pretty mind-boggling. Our goal here is to give people an exhibit that they walk away from not only with the sense that they have learned something about the animals and the natural environment, but also walk away from here with real excitement.
I'm in awe. It's about time we had something like this in Las Vegas.
Shark Reef is home to approximately 2,000 animals, including some of the rarest species in the world.
I think the most exciting part of the exhibit, if I had to pick one, is to have the opportunity to watch the divers interact with the animals in our big shark tank. But I think people really enjoy the opportunity to see our divers in there with full chainmail in a close encounter with these animals. This is the beginning of Shark Reef. And as such, we have many, many plans for the future. Expansion of our exhibits, new animals and new attractions that are going to be ongoing, education about the marine environment continuing, that will hopefully bring a total package to Las Vegas, to the tourist and to the native alike.
Throughout the history of Las Vegas, resorts have always looked for unique new ways to bring in customers. In 1968, Circus became the first hotel to depart from standard showroom entertainment by bringing the circus to the Strip. This unique style of entertainment brought a thrilling new twist to the Las Vegas experience by putting on shows right where the action takes place, in the casino itself. Trapeze artists, high-wire acts, ferocious animals, colorful clowns, and death-defying stunts all took place on the mezzanine above the casino's gaming tables and slot machines. Children were invited to sit in the mezzanine above the gaming floor and have fun while their parents played in the casino below. From the moment people walked into the resort, they were surrounded by hundreds of circus-based attractions, including an indoor carnival midway. Circus completely immersed guests into the carnival experience and brought true family entertainment to Las Vegas for the first time. Today, another resort has adapted the total immersion experience of Circus to fit another time-honored tradition. The Rio recreates an atmosphere of the world-famous carnival celebration of Brazil's most colorful city, Rio de Janeiro. The most impressive event is Masquerade Show in the Sky, a $25 million indoor attraction that has merged entertainment and technology. This fully interactive show features elaborately dressed dancers, acrobats, and musicians performing simultaneously in 17 different settings. The chief creator of this event is producer Blair Farrington.
Producing the show in the sky is a very unique and has been a very unique challenge. It's about fun, it's about energy, it's about spectacle. It's really about the surprises and the glamour of the New Vegas. The concept really came from carnivals around the world. It really is literally high energy from the time the curtain goes up. Stages appear out of nowhere, ceiling pieces and animatronic pieces, flying Pegasus and flying dolphins with girls on the backs all fall into place. So it really comes out of nowhere, and the sound attracts all the people, and before you know it, there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people enjoying the spectacle.
With all modern-day Las Vegas has to offer, there is one thing that still brings back images of Sin City, and that is gambling.
We wanted to gamble.
Yeah, we want money.
There are many people who believe that gambling is now just one of the amenities which people come to Las Vegas to enjoy. I have a little different view. I still think it's the driver and will be the driver for a long, long time.
Las Vegas is the most successful gambling destination in the world, generating $7.2 billion in annual revenues, proving that people from around the world will spend any amount of money for a chance at easy money. This simple fact has been demonstrated throughout Las Vegas' colorful history.
Nevada is an interesting state in a lot of ways, and one of the ways it's interesting is that Nevada, until 1910, never passed a law against gambling in any.
At midnight on October 1st, 1910, a strict anti-gambling law took effect. The Nevada State Journal headline read, "Stilled forever is the click of the roulette wheel, the rattle of dice, and the swish of the cards." But forever in Nevada was a relative term. Within a matter of weeks, underground gaming facilities sprang up, and those who knew the proper password could once again tempt the hand of fate, a practice that would continue for the next 20 years. In the 1930s, Las Vegas was still known as a small cowboy town with a few dusty watering hole saloons. But by the end of the decade, several events would transform the small desert outpost into a fashionable exotic locale. Gambling was legalized once again in 1938 to gain revenue for the state. To help combat the Depression and bring power to the West, Herbert Hoover implemented the Boulder Canyon Project, which fostered the construction of the massive Hoover Dam. And when Billy Wilkerson conceived the Flamingo Resort Hotel and Casino, Las Vegas would never be the same. A wealthy Los Angeles businessman and enthusiastic gambler, Wilkerson envisioned a dazzling, world-class hotel that would rival Europe's supreme gambling stop, Monte Carlo, Monaco. Las Vegas' first Eastern-style resort included a glamorous showroom, and all employees were required to wear tuxedos. Naysayers scoffed at Wilkerson's idea. But after many years of struggle, including the takeover by East Coast Mafia and the assassination of Benjamin Bugsy Siegel, the Flamingo Hotel became a prime destination, and Las Vegas was forever changed.
When the boys, the so-called boys, ran the town, it was exactly the opposite of what it is now. First of all, the hotel was owned by a family or an individual, owned the hotel. And all they cared about was the cash going into the casino that they could, they could rake, they could skim. The skim, bagman show up, boom, 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 he'd go back to Chicago, divide it out among boys. That's the way they handled it.
Whether one admits it or not, many people come to Las Vegas and actually dream of breaking the bank.
We heard all sorts of stories about Las Vegas before we come, about people winning loads of money.
I think that the reason the Strip caught on so well was definitely the gambling. You know, nearly all of us, in some way, we like to gamble.
The most exciting part of being in Vegas is just the thrill of the gamble, putting the money down there, hoping for that one time where you can make the big hit.
The mystique that draws people to Las Vegas to gamble is the chance to win, the excitement, the chance to take a limited amount of money and turn it into an unlimited amount of money.
The obvious question would be, if you didn't have gambling in Las Vegas, would it exist? I don't know anyone who'd say yes.
My dream was coming to Vegas, hitting the jackpot, going home with a couple of thousand in the pocket.
Whether you prefer to play cards, roll dice, or pull on a one-armed bandit, Vegas has a game for every person who's ready to wager a buck or two. Brilliantly laid out and planned, Vegas casinos know how to entice, hold, and keep their visitors in their grasp. However, walking into a casino for the first time can be as intimidating as it is exciting. Fortunately, in true Las Vegas style, the casinos make it their business to put you at ease.
My suggestions for a first-time gambler in Las Vegas is to bet with your head, not your heart. Have a great time with your money. If you win, that's fantastic. If you lose, make sure you enjoy every dollar that you spend.
It's a donation. I figure whatever I spend is my entertainment tax.
There's so many games that people can play in a casino. There's craps, there's blackjack, three-card poker, Caribbean stud, not to mention thousands of slot machines.
I won the $600 by playing the nickel slots, actually.
I believe the most exciting game of chance is dice. You're interacting with up to 10 to 12 people on the game. People are yelling and screaming, they're rooting each other on.
As long as there is that desire to take a risk and gamble, I think there's always going to be a place like Las Vegas.
In addition to casinos, themed resorts, and indoor entertainment, Las Vegas is in the Mojave Desert, which offers breathtaking landscapes and amazing scenery. The early history of Las Vegas can be traced back to 1829, when Antonio Armijo led a party of 60 Spanish traders from New Mexico on the old Spanish Trail to Los Angeles. In those days, the 1820s, Las Vegas and the Mojave Desert were harsh lands, a place to survive while passing through. Today, that same barren wasteland has been reborn as Red Rock Canyon National Park, part of our national park system. The park's original inhabitants were the Anasazi Indians, whose ancient rock drawings or petroglyphs can still be seen today on the canyon walls. For a break from the intensity and energy of the Las Vegas Strip, a drive around the 13-mile scenic loop is awe-inspiring. It winds among Joshua trees, stark desert scenery, and the spectacularly colored red rocks. In the late 60s, Howard Hughes was buying every parcel of land he could and purchased a portion of Red Rock Canyon. The property remained part of the Hughes Corporation holdings until 1974. Greg Genesios is the manager of Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area.
It's only about a 15 to 30-minute drive from the Strip, and it really gives you a view of some superlative desert scenery, particularly if somebody has never seen the desert before. It's got Joshua trees, we have desert tortoises, nice flowers if we get a wet spring. Aside from the obvious things like hiking, we have mountain biking, very popular rock climbing area, and all the things that you'd expect to do near a world-class city. The most striking thing about Red Rock Canyon is the unusual geology. I mean, that's why the place got its name. And a lot of people ask why the rocks are red. These sandstone cliffs were laid down as sand dunes in the Jurassic Age, and they're fossilized sand dunes. The iron in them has rusted, and that's what creates the red color. The really significant feature here, though, is something called the Keystone Thrust Fault, which has thrust an older layer of rock up over the sandstone. So you have this Permian Age rock above younger rock, and that's kind of unusual.
Greg's zeal for Red Rock Canyon is shared with his first love.
Photography really connects me with the landscape. Sometimes you get so caught up in your day-to-day work that you forget that the resource is there. For me to be able to grab a camera once every week or so and come out here in the early morning and just get away, it reconnects me to the resource and makes me feel good about the job I'm doing and about the place that I'm living and working. My favorite photo subjects are the patterns in the rocks, the swirls and the cross-bedding, just the swirly patterns. Everything to me in the desert is so sinuous, and there's just wonderful form and color. I think by being able to make a connection to the resource, it makes me a better manager, because I'm always going to be hopefully making decisions that are going to be in the best interest of protecting Red Rock. And by protecting Red Rock, I think that's in the best interest of the visitors, because we don't want this to become Central Park of Las Vegas in the future. We want it to always be relatively pristine and the kind of place where people can have that feeling of solitude.
In less than a century, Las Vegas has grown from a sleepy desert stopover to a vacation destination hosting over 36 million visitors a year.
Las Vegas is set apart from other vacation destinations because Las Vegas delivers on its promises.
I think it's the most exciting place in the world. I think we have the best of everything.
This once small desert city continues to experience unprecedented growth.
The number of people that come to Las Vegas on an annual basis keeps going up every year.
I see Las Vegas just continuing to grow out on the Strip. It's booming. The hotels are always improving themselves. It never stops. It's just incredible.
I think Las Vegas has got a very bright future. And it's not because of the gaming industry. I think it's because of the community, the people that live in Las Vegas, the people that work in Las Vegas, the people that contribute and participate in the quality of life in Las Vegas. You're going to find that more and more people are going to be moving to Las Vegas. We're rapidly becoming one of the fastest growing communities in the country.
I am the happiest guy in the world because I am the mayor of this wonderful, wonderful town.
Only time will tell what Las Vegas will become. But if the past and present are any indication, the city will continue to entice visitors with the possibility of new vistas, the most extravagant accommodations, a place one can forget about the humdrum and kick back and have fun. Today, Las Vegas is the world's most fascinating and appealing multifaceted resort. But a little more than a half century ago, it was just an unknown train stop. The rich history of Las Vegas is intertwined with tales of colorful characters. Vegas has been home to ruthless mob bosses, backroom wheeler dealers, and top-name entertainers. Las Vegas has been home to men like Bugsy Siegel, a feared mobster who had a dream of greatness in the desert, and eccentric billionaire Howard Hughes, who plotted to take over the city from a secluded penthouse high atop the Strip. The largest construction project in the history of the United States is located just 30 miles from the celebrated city. And today, Las Vegas is host to over 36 million tourists a year. We'll go behind the curtain and beneath the flashing lights to tell these tales, as well as the stories of everyday people who populate the fabled Las Vegas Strip. This is Las Vegas, Then and Now, Stories from the Strip. Today, Las Vegas is world-renowned for the dozens of casinos that populate its famous strip. But the town hails from humble roots. A few decades ago, Vegas was just an insignificant cowboy town. But the city's population grew because a few colorful citizens imagined an amazing future for this forgotten corner in the barren Mojave Desert. But how did Vegas become this fabled Sin City, a magnet to over 30 million visitors a year? To understand, we need to travel back to the Depression days, to the biggest city in the western United States, Los Angeles, California. During Hollywood's golden age, the Sunset Strip was lined with an abundance of luxurious nightclubs, hidden casinos, and backroom bordellos where movie stars and Hollywood's elite congregated. In 1938, Los Angeles' newly elected mayor, Fletcher Bowron, decided it was time to clean up the city. Gambling and prostitution were shut down in Los Angeles, and the city's police force worked hard to create a new and better image for the City of Angels. One of the city's more notable characters was Billy Wilkerson, a chronic gambler and owner of the industry paper, The Hollywood Reporter. He also owned several successful nightclubs, including the fabled Trocadero and nearby Ciro's, two legendary Hollywood hangouts. An expert on the history of Las Vegas is Billy Wilkerson's son, Willie Wilkerson.
When gambling and prostitution was shut down in Los Angeles, there were many gamblers like my father who didn't have a place to go. A friend of his, movie mogul Joe Skank, who was a chronic gambler himself, said, listen, if you're going to sustain those kinds of losses, you should build a casino.
Wilkerson agreed and chose Las Vegas as the site of his new business venture because Nevada was the only state in the Union where gambling was legal. Las Vegas in the 1940s was still a sleepy desert oasis with a few casinos concentrated in a seedy area of town known to locals as Glitter Gulch. Billy Wilkerson believed that Las Vegas had the potential to appeal to a more affluent clientele.
Wilkerson's idea was to open in Las Vegas a hotel that he was going to call the Flamingo. He had a fascination for exotic birds, where he could indulge his passion for elegant dining, shows, and also his obsession with gambling.
Wilkerson's vision was to build a self-contained luxury resort hotel with a prominent casino and European-styled showroom. In 1945, Wilkerson purchased a 33-acre parcel of land for $84,000. It lay just outside the city limits on Highway 91. Wilkerson's dream was to build the largest hotel in Las Vegas. It would be 5 stories tall with 250 rooms.
But it was going to be a playground for his rich and famous friends. It would be like an exclusive club, as it were. It wasn't meant to be an everyman resort.
Billy Wilkerson was probably not the best man in the world to run a gambling casino. He was a heavy drinker, a man with a gambling problem, a man who went through money very, very quickly.
More than a third of the Flamingo was already constructed. The concrete foundations were laid, the steel girders, the plumbing was laid, and at that point, my father ran out of money because he couldn't keep away from the tables.
Wilkerson's search for additional financing led him to team up with some very shady partners.
There was an Eastern businessman by the name of G. Harry Rothberg from Illinois who approached my father and made him the deal he couldn't refuse.
The partners that Wilkerson found himself with were Bugsy Siegel as the front man and a number of mostly Jewish mobsters from Chicago and the upper Midwest.
The deal stated that Wilkerson was to call all creative shots, remain sole operator, and retain ownership of the land the casino was built on. Although best known today as a legendary mobster, Benjamin Bugsy Siegel was a complicated character. When in Vegas, Bugsy stayed at the El Rancho Hotel and was friends with the owner and his wife, Jerry Hall.
Bugsy Siegel lived with us when he built the Flamingo. He was a very charming man, and he was a good-looking man, too. He was somebody you'd invite to a cocktail party.
Before moving to Las Vegas to oversee the construction and operation of the Flamingo, Bugsy Siegel lived in Beverly Hills and lived the life of a movie star. When Siegel first arrived in Las Vegas, he took on the role of Wilkerson's protege, but soon clashed with Wilkerson over the Flamingo's design and budget.
Gradually over 1945 and 46, Wilkerson is being edged aside by this gangster Ben Siegel.
Around the end of August 1946, Siegel had creative control. He now owned the property and the physical possession of the Flamingo. My father owned close to 50% of the stock of this corporation. Siegel had overspent on this project to an excessive degree. His partners were demanding some kind of an accounting, and Siegel was stalling them because he knew he had a lot of red ink to account for.
Bugsy decided to redesign the Flamingo. He discarded the hotel's original plans. In time, costs soared fivefold. Wilkerson tried in vain to get the syndicate to buy out his remaining shares for $600,000. When Wilkerson refused to walk away empty-handed, Bugsy threatened his life.
Siegel called for what should be termed a stockholders meeting. Siegel said, "You're going to have to part with your interest." My father said, "Well, how much am I going to be paid for it?" And Siegel said, "You're not going to be paid anything for it." And my father said, "Well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to turn it over." And Siegel, who was prone to these rages, said if he didn't get my father's percentage without payment, that he was going to kill my father.
Wilkerson did the only rational thing he could do. He ran for his life and fled to France, but not without first signing over his share of the Flamingo. From that moment on, Bugsy Siegel was running the show. Even though construction was not complete, Siegel, deeply in debt, planned a grand opening for the day after Christmas, 1946. He hoped the turnout would be great, the profit substantial, and then he could raise additional capital.
When they finally got to opening at night, it rained cats and dogs. The airstrip was flooded. They couldn't get people out from the buses. It was just a mess, and it was an absolute disaster.
One of the many entertainers who performed at Flamingo's opening night gala was singer Rose Marie.
2 plane loads of stars came in, from the top to the bottom. I mean, Lana Turner, Joan Crawford, all of them. So we were jammed. It was fantastic. The opening was sensational. Stars and lights and glamour and, oh boy, beads and furs and jewelry. It was unbelievable. We did the show the next night. The stars were still there. They left, and we worked to 9 people after that.
A staggering $300,000 was lost during the Flamingo's first week of operation. After 2 weeks, it closed down. Determined not to fail, Siegel sank even more of the mafia's money into what locals now laughingly referred to as Siegel's Mirage in the Desert.
Then when Siegel reopened the hotel, again, March 1st, that opening fared better.
Convinced that Siegel wasn't giving them a square count, the mob decided that it was time for Bugsy Siegel to check out of the fabulous Flamingo, permanently. Reluctant to trigger bloodshed in their new backyard, the Chicago bosses dispatched a hitman to the Beverly Hills mansion where Siegel was staying. The hired killer waited patiently outside, hidden safely behind a plant-covered latticework 20 feet from Siegel's living room. Having waited for the perfect moment, the expert marksman's first shot sent one of Siegel's eyes flying across the living room. The second bullet passed through his neck, and 2 more shots shattered his handsome face. A horrible end for the vain and much-feared gangster.
Benny Siegel never knew what hit him. He was killed instantly.
News of Bugsy's murder made front-page headlines around the world.
When Siegel was murdered, and those crime scene photos were published and splashed all over the world, Siegel's life and identity became inextricably interwoven with the flamingo. This young, handsome gangster was martyred for this hotel.
Bugsy Siegel never lived to see the fabulous flamingo turn a dime of profit, but his vision of transforming the desert town into a trendy resort destination surpassed even his wildest dreams. The Chicago mobsters who had ordered his assassination went on to make millions of dollars that they didn't have to split with Bugsy. Today's Las Vegas is a family town dominated by giant hotels built by major international corporations. However, its roots lie in the city's close ties to organized crime families of the East Coast Mafia. Las Vegas underwent a major transition in the 1960s when the balance of power shifted from mobsters to businessmen. The Mafia was not overthrown by force, but bought out with money. And the man who wrote the checks was one of America's most intriguing figures, reclusive billionaire Howard Hughes.
The most important turning point in the history of the Strip, in the history of Las Vegas, was the advent of Howard Hughes.
Hughes was the first legitimate investor to come here, the first American businessman to take gaming seriously. And the fact that he was considered a business genius gave gambling in Las Vegas a kind of legitimacy it had never before had.
Howard Hughes is one of the 20th century's most legendary figures. In his lifetime, he skillfully parlayed the Hughes Tool Company into a billion-dollar empire that encompassed oil, motion pictures, military technology, aviation, and real estate.
Howard Hughes, was not only the first American billionaire, but he was a world-class aviator. He was a legendary film producer.
But Hughes' first love was flying. Not only did he go on to found Trans World Airlines, but he also set several aviation records.
Howard Hughes' greatest accomplishments were definitely in aviation. He was the greatest aviator who ever lived.
Howard Hughes' love of aviation eventually proved to be a double-edged sword. His numerous aeronautical accomplishments, including the design and construction of the legendary Spruce Goose, did not shield him from the watchful eye of the United States government. The Spruce Goose's enormous $42 million price tag called attention to Hughes' holdings and spawned federal investigations that would continue through the rest of his life. With constant hounding by the press and FBI, Hughes became more and more enigmatic and reclusive.
By going in seclusion, his whole persona stopped exactly where the late 40s. The last time anybody ever saw him, that was the picture they kept of him.
Because the FBI watched his every move, Hughes began to cloak even the simplest movements under a veil of secrecy.
One of the reasons is because the things he would do when he was being tailed by the FBI would be to drive his car around in a parking lot in circles, just to show them that he was crazy. But of course, it was all a game with him.
Through the 1950s and into the 60s, Hughes' empire continued to grow as he micromanaged his business from seclusion. Then, in 1967, he moved his operation to Las Vegas.
It was a place that he felt always comfortable. It's a place that he returned a number of times. It's a place that he had some of the best times of his life. He loved Las Vegas.
Secretly, in the dead of night, he took over the top floor of one of the Strip's most famous hotels, the Desert Inn.
When Howard Hughes came to Las Vegas, he came on a train from Boston. The train stopped several miles outside of town, and he was put into an ambulance and driven to the top floor of the Desert Inn.
But soon, mafia bosses who controlled the Desert Inn wanted Hughes to move out so they could better accommodate their high rollers in the luxurious penthouse suites.
And Hughes was problematic for Mo Dalitz and the guys who owned the Desert Inn because his people took up the entire penthouse floor, and they thought at first that these guys would come out and gamble and they'd make money hand over fist, but of course they didn't.
Tired of being bothered by the hotel's management, Hughes made a decision that would send shockwaves through Las Vegas.
Hughes eventually had to buy the hotel so he wouldn't have to get out of bed, basically, and didn't even really put up a very good fight in the negotiation of the price.
From his penthouse suite, Hughes swooped in and took control of one Vegas landmark after another.
Then he bought the Frontier Hotel after that, and the Landmark Hotel after that, the Sands Hotel, and on and on. And the hotels he bought, for the most part, were the places that were still heavily influenced by the mob. When Hughes came in, the ownership changed. It starts the beginning of the end for the mob.
Once the mafia was out of there, it was a different town. He really set up what the other big moguls have done. They've all kind of followed in Howard Hughes's footsteps.
In the 2 years that Howard Hughes would operate as the hidden emperor of Las Vegas, he continued to pull the strings of his multifaceted business empire while growing increasingly dependent on heavy drugs. There are many conflicting stories about how Hughes lived out his final days. He died in 1976. It is rumored that he expired while being transported on a chartered airplane. Hughes had pushed organized crime off the Vegas Strip and set the stage for what would soon become the domain of corporate America and family entertainment. "30 miles southeast of Las Vegas lies one of the 7 architectural wonders of the modern world. Hoover Dam, which was also known as Boulder Dam, is a testament to America's strength in troubled times. Although President Calvin Coolidge signed the Boulder Canyon Project Act in 1928, which allowed a dam to be built along the Colorado River, construction on the project did not actually begin until 1931, when the United States was immersed in the Great Depression.
Uncle Sam is personally doing his share to provide work for the workers. The immense Boulder Dam on the Colorado River is but one of the many projects under his direct supervision that is bringing employment to thousands.
Mostly this happened because of the Depression. The state had been broken in the 1920s, and it felt the pain of the Depression more than any other state. The only thing that went on in 1930s Nevada, other than gambling and divorce, was the Hoover Dam itself.
Desperate for work, thousands of families from all over America made the treacherous journey to the Las Vegas area in search of steady jobs and a new beginning. The mass migration had an immediate impact on the city. Seemingly overnight, Las Vegas was transformed from a small rural community into a dynamic boomtown. Las Vegas couldn't grow fast enough to accommodate thousands of new arrivals in 1931, so a new town, Boulder City, was created. During the 5 years the dam was being built, Las Vegas was the favorite playground and escape for the workers.
Hoover Dam was the cause for a great deal of economic boom in Las Vegas in the early 1930s. So the city, I think, begins during the latter part of the 1930s to identify itself as a tourist destination, and specifically revolving around Hoover Dam.
When Hoover Dam was completed in 1935, at a final cost of $49 million, Lake Mead became the largest reservoir in the United States, containing enough water to flood the entire state of New York. As the largest public works project in the history of the United States, Hoover Dam is twice as tall as the pyramid-shaped Luxor Casino, and at its base, as wide as 2 football fields. The structure contains enough concrete to build a 4-foot sidewalk all the way around the Earth at the equator. 20,000 cars a day drive over Hoover Dam, and it remains a favorite day trip for Las Vegas tourists, attracting over 1 million visitors a year. Hoover Dam played a major role in transforming Las Vegas from a barren desert outpost to the major tourist attraction it is today. Today, over 36 million people visit Las Vegas every year. The vast majority arrives by air. 22 airlines fly non-stop to more than 70 domestic and international destinations on a daily basis. After passing through the only American airport with banks of slot machines, passengers can collect their luggage from the baggage terminal and head for the Strip. The best way to travel in one of the world's most congested cities is by taxi. Far more than faceless chauffeurs, Las Vegas cab drivers whisk passengers around town while sharing little-known facts about the city. For a good story or lighthearted joke, few do it better than cab driver Jim Perkins.
Being a cab driver in Las Vegas, here, Sin City, is really one of the best jobs you could ever have. You get to meet people from all over the world.
And like any cab driver, Jim has some good stories.
One time a lady, we were driving by the Mirage, and she had asked me, did they know that the volcano in front of the Mirage was active before they bought the hotel? And I told her, well, of course they knew it was. That's why they had to pay so much money for the property.
In truth, Mirage's active volcano was the brainchild of one of Las Vegas' most famous sons, Steve Wynn.
Everybody always wants to know about what Steve went up to and how did he get started. He's kind of a folklore figure here in Las Vegas.
Wynn might be the most interesting of the Las Vegas entrepreneurs. He was a man who came to town as a young man, owned a liquor distributorship, bought the only piece of property that Howard Hughes ever sold.
As existing hotels began to expand, Wynn's property became very valuable, thus allowing him to sell the parcel at an enormous profit. As a gifted entrepreneur and visionary, Wynn took this money and opened the Mirage in 1988, beginning a new era in Las Vegas. Wynn continued this revitalization by creating Treasure Island, and brought a touch of class to the city with his elegant Bellagio. Like Howard Hughes before him, Wynn is only one of the eccentric developers of Las Vegas.
I remember Steve Wynn calling me and saying, look at this, I want to show you this. I'm going to have this water, and I'm going to have these fountains, I'm going to have water, and I'm going to have a volcano right through the water. What do you think? I said, I think you're crazy. I think you're a lunatic. But man, when he did it, oh my goodness, what is that? And then all the other theme hotels, that's the major change you see on the Strip.
But what Wynn did was tie Las Vegas to the idea that anything was possible in a new way. He upscaled service, he created a level of attraction that had never really before existed in Las Vegas. And with that, he kicked off the new Las Vegas.
Recently, Steve Wynn's empire was taken over by legendary businessman Kirk Kerkorian for a staggering $6.4 billion, setting the stage for another round of mega resorts to be built. One of the newest of these resorts was built by Sheldon Adelson. Incredibly, he embarked on his enormous project without a specific theme in mind.
I really listened to my wife. When we got married 10 years ago, we had an extensive honeymoon. She walked in one day and she said to me, "Why don't you do Venice?" And I said, "Why Venice?" She said, "Don't you remember how romantic it was?"
The hotel hired the finest architects, historians, and craftsmen to recreate the world's only city set in and on the water.
Las Vegas has changed from the time Bugsy Siegel opened the Flamingo, as much as day changes from night.
Texas oilman Jackie Friedman was also a Las Vegas eccentric who built the legendary Sands Hotel in 1952. Jackie Friedman was an avid, high-stakes gambler who refused to bet with chips and became famous for his habit of betting exclusively with $1,000 bills. During construction of the Sands, Friedman, being true to character, decided to call his casino the Sands because his shoes constantly filled up with sand when he toured the site. But the Sands was best known as home to Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack, who performed impromptu shows till the early hours of morning when they were in town together. By 1996, the Sands was dwarfed by the mega resorts that surrounded it, and current owner Sheldon Adelson was forced to implode the landmark hotel to construct his wife's dream of Old Venice. The Venetian, like the Sands, continues its treatment of preferred guests, or high rollers.
Welcome to the Venetian Hotel Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. My name is Mario. I'm going to be your butler for the next few nights, and I'd like to show you around your suite.
The 5,600 square foot presidential suite at the Venetian is filled with expensive antiques and over-the-top opulence. The suite offers a huge living room with a fireplace, grand piano, and luxurious furnishings fit for any high roller. It also includes a formal dining room, billiard room, wet bar, and a state-of-the-art media room. And 2 master bedroom suites with jacuzzi, sauna, and exercise room. With accommodations like this, it's easy to see how this hotel has found success as a new breed of Las Vegas resort, combining subtle class with casino kitsch. Las Vegas can attribute its current popularity partly to its remarkable ability to change with the times. However, there is one key aspect to Vegas' humble beginnings that still serves as a magnet today. It appeals to grown-ups by offering a wide variety of adult entertainment. At the city's inception in 1905, prostitution was legal and flourished alongside gambling casinos and Wild West saloons. Bordellos dotted the Vegas landscape and thrived all along the main thoroughfares in places like the legendary Arizona Club. As the world's oldest profession became more restricted, an unofficial red light district sprung up. It was known as the notorious Block 16. almost 25 years, prostitution and Block 16 were quietly accepted as a key part of life in Las Vegas. With the commencement of the Hoover Dam project in 1931, prostitution in Depression-era Las Vegas came under increased scrutiny from officials of the federal government. Further pressure came in World War II, when the Army threatened to make Las Vegas off-limits, forcing the city to crack down on prostitution. In 1952, after a 10-year campaign, prostitution was finally made illegal in Las Vegas. From scantily clad showgirls to exotic dancers, to both legal and illegal forms of prostitution, the city continues the tradition of adding a dash of sex to the mix that makes Sin City. A professor of sociology at the University of Nevada at Las Vegas, Catherine Hausbeck specializes in the study of the sex industry.
Las Vegas, perhaps more than any city in the United States, maybe even the world, has really carved a niche for itself that they're able to offer the world an adult sex industry that allows tourists to come here and purchase an experience. It really is part of the character of Las Vegas.
Since the storied days of Block 16, Las Vegas has been linked to the business of sex.
In Las Vegas, there's two different kinds of adult entertainment. That which is legal and regulated, and then that which is illegal. Among legal options for adult entertainment are things like strip clubs or gentlemen's clubs, topless reviews at big hotels on the Strip, and outcall or escort services.
As the saying goes, if it involves sex, it sells, and entrepreneurs in Vegas have long adhered to this motto. Today, one of the most popular forms of adult entertainment are the city's so-called gentlemen's clubs. Debbie Freeman is a classically trained dancer who has performed in Broadway musicals and in exotic strip clubs.
You know what goes through a person's mind when they're dancing as an exotic dancer? How many more hours do I have to do this? Okay, can I get this person to buy a dance? It's a job, and you know, you're working, and it's all about what you're bringing home. You're not there because you want to be. Nobody is.
How does a Broadway dancer suddenly transform herself into a Vegas showgirl?
When I was dancing in New York and Broadway, a show that toured nationally, and our show ended up here, and it closed up.
Alone in a strange city with few job prospects, Debbie had to think on her feet.
I did some exotic dancing there on the sides and saw how rough that was and how rough the girls have it over there as well. That's when I got the show here at Skin Tight and was real excited.
Some visitors to Vegas believe anything goes in Sin City, but this isn't the case.
In Las Vegas today, there is no legal prostitution. And lots of people come here thinking that gambling's legal, prostitution's legal, and you can get anything you want if you have a buck in your pocket, or maybe $100. In fact, that's not the case. Prostitution is illegal here in Las Vegas. But if you want to actually purchase prostitution services, a tourist to Las Vegas would have to go about 45 minutes to an hour outside of town.
Illegal or not, prostitutes in Las Vegas are not hard to find. One can, for example, let their fingers do the walking.
Not all of the women and men who are outcall dancers will prostitute. Rumor has it, a whole bunch will.
Morgan is an escort available for outcall services.
An evening of adult entertainment with me wouldn't probably be the whole evening. It would be an hour, basically, and I would come to your hotel room and get my money and make a big smile on your face. I hope you're happy when I leave. It's a job. It's not something you think about after a while. I guess in the beginning it kind of bothers you, but you don't even think twice about it. You just go and do your thing and go home. Put your little time in it and get paid, and that's it. There's not a lot of women that choose to be working girls, but I don't know if it's something that you don't grow up and say, oh, I want to be a hooker. It's something that happens. Maybe you were raised around it, or you started doing drugs and you had to pay for your drugs, or you met a pimp, or for whatever reason. I don't think it's something that you just actually just go and choose to do.
In the past, local law enforcement may have embraced prostitution, or at least ignored it. But today, the police have a different attitude toward the world's oldest profession.
20 years ago, they would catch you at the bar and they'd pile 10, 15 of us in a car, take our drinks with us just before you get to the jailhouse, ditch the drinks, and then they'd take you into jail. Cost $50 to get out. Now, now they handcuff you and walk you through the casinos, and takes you 24 hours to get out of jail. They have an attitude against working girls, whereas before they didn't have the attitude.
Still, where there's a will, there's a way. With so many deep-pocketed tourists in town, sex is a business that will never go out of style in Las Vegas.
It's fair to say that the adult industry has been part of Vegas lore for all the way to the 21st century, continuing that tradition. So I think the sex industry is, again, whether we like it or not, a big part of what Vegas history has been about, and a big part of what Vegas will.
Celebrities have been flying into Las Vegas to say "I do" ever since the first neon bulb began to flicker on the Strip. In 1931, with gambling once again made legal and the Hoover Dam project in full swing, Las Vegas came up with another way to increase tourism: quickie divorces and easy weddings. The celebrity who set the marriage trend was silent film star Clara Bow, better known as Hollywood's original It Girl, and her cowboy star boyfriend, Rex Bell. The ceremony was so secret that to this day, nobody knows exactly where in Las Vegas it occurred. With over 120,000 couples exchanging vows every year, Las Vegas can add wedding capital of the world to its long list of superlatives.
Let's fly to Vegas. Let's fly to the land of 1,000 suns. We'll let passion take us. Hey, promise me I'm your only one. I'm your only one.
People come to Las Vegas to get married because it's an easy place to get married. There's no waiting period, there's no blood test. They can go down and get their marriage license and then come right back to the chapel and get married that day.
Weddings Las Vegas style run the gamut from traditional to outlandish, serious to irreverent. Las Vegas is a place to satisfy whatever suits your own personal taste and budget. Who would have thought in arid Las Vegas one could get married on a Venetian canal in a gondola?
In placing this ring, I'd like for you to repeat after me. Left hand. I give you this ring. So that's the man and wife.
Easy marriages created a need. And there are countless wedding chapels downtown waiting to create whatever nuptials your heart desires, 24 hours a day. With infinite choices available, couples can be married by a variety of characters, led by the king himself.
At Viva Las Vegas Weddings, you can get married in an Egyptian-style theme with the King Tut, or you can get married with this king in an Elvis wedding.
Showgirls, Dracula, the Grim Reaper, Camelot, Merlin, whoever the people want. Ron Descartes developed the idea. It was on a napkin, and he drew a stick figure of Elvis and 2 hula girls and a couple palm trees in the back, and now here we are.
The fun doesn't stop with the ceremony. Viva Las Vegas has created matching themed rooms to spend the all-important first night together as husband and wife.
Well, we're having the Elvis Blue Hawaii wedding because it was the most obnoxious one we could find. We just kind of like the idea of being goofy about it.
Well, then, by the power vested in the king, I would ask you to be once again husband and wife. Bob, you may kiss your lovely bride. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bride room. And feel free to sing and dance on this next song.
Conventional to bizarre. Costly to inexpensive. Whatever you fancy, Las Vegas can make available boundless wedding options that are as easy as tossing dice.
If it's an incredible wedding that you're after, Las Vegas is definitely the place for you. Thank you very much. Viva Las Vegas, baby.
Today, Las Vegas and adjoining towns like Henderson, Nevada, are nothing less than modern boom towns. New jobs spring up every day and are attracting 6,000 new residents a month. This corner of the Silver State has been the fastest growing spot in America over the last decade. It's amazing that in just 100 years, Las Vegas has gone from a cowpoke town to a glamorous international resort. Today, Las Vegas is the most visited spot in the United States, with 36 million tourists stopping in to play the tables, marvel at the talent, explore thrill rides, or simply bask in the city's around-the-clock brand of excitement. There is no other place on earth comparable to Las Vegas. If the city continues to reinvent itself as it has during the past 50 years, only time will tell what Las Vegas will be like 50 years from now.